Hello and welcome to the Viva Bastardo show, part of the Hagerty podcast network. We're still in London, and today I'm delighted to spend some time with my friend Benedict Redgrove. We've known each other for 10, 15 years. He is an incredible photographer. He's just finished an amazing book on NASA. He spent 10 years shooting all the incredible stuff at NASA. We share all the same loves and obsessions, and he's kind of the nerd supreme overlord. He has hilarious stories about Bertone, shooting at the factory there or the design studio. We talk about everything that fascinates us. We talk about the future. We talk about being old geezers. So let's get into it. This podcast is also brought to you by Inbound Motorsports. Rami, the main geezer who runs it, says a lot of you have been reaching out. Please continue to do so. He can bring in cars from anywhere, Japan, Europe, Asia, which is also Japan. He's bringing a ton of stuff. I think there's been a strange peak of interest in Mitsubishi Pajero Evolutions. I don't know why. But anyway, give Rami a call. He's the most delightful guy, and he will be able to find you the bizarre car of your dreams. Fantastic. Thanks, man.
And then he's gone. Now, is this when the murdering
Was
takes
that some
place?
Gurgling? I heard some gastrointestinal.
Yes. Oh, there's loads of that.
That's right. It's
Yeah.
it's a gastrointestinal.
It's just
All right, before we fall down the wormhole immediately, which is going to happen,
Yes.
I should introduce. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Benedict.
Okay, thanks for that.
That's very helpful of me.
So, Ben, for those of you who don't know, which is everyone, we are brothers from another mother secretly. Ben is Benedict Redgrove, Esquire, attorney at law, is not really, is a photographer. We met, we had the same agent years ago,
Yeah.
and you are like the nerd of all nerds. You're the capo di tutti capo of nerds. Is
Am
that
I
how
indeed?
you say it?
That's what I say on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Actually, that's
Yeah. So you take amazing photographs of like cars and planes. I mean, really, actually, you're kind of living a life that any self-respecting nerd would live, because you're taking pictures of stuff and you're experiencing stuff that we all would love to experience if you are you and me. But if you're no one else, if you're someone else, then you probably wouldn't want to do those things. For instance, like you just showed me last night, you were doing this. Hey! You know what? You're not going to say anything. I'm just going to do the whole podcast.
And I'm just going to nod and say, that sounds about right. That's about right.
Lovely. All right, go on.
So
Say something.
Dance monkey. And there you go.
See.
This is it. This is so yes. Phil and I met at our old agents in Camden. And we were chatting, and he said, "I live in America," and I said, "I want to go there. That's cool. How is it? What's it like over there?" He said, "It's great, apart from all the inappropriate touching," which is a line that Phil delivers a lot to people. But then we just stay friends. And I lived in New York for a few years, and we hung out a lot when I was there.
But you've like, for instance, last night we were talking about a project you've been working on for a while called Second Skin. So do you want to tell people a little bit about what that is?
Kind of, because it's
is it top secret?
It's kind of top secret.
Shit! Okay, you know what? Forget you guys heard that. There's no project called Second Skin. Nothing.
La la la. Anyway, what a lovely studio! It's like Good Morning Britain.
That's right. But less.
Yes,
people.
no. There's projects that I get to produce. That one has been sort of going for a few years. Nothing I do is fast. I don't ever sort of tend to work in very short bursts of.
Let's talk about the NASA project. So you were working for. How long did that project take?
Well, from the time we were sat in your studio and we had the initial conversation, and I sent that email to NASA that day.
Right.
It was then 10 years before it was finished. So 4.5 years before we took the first photo, and that was 4.5 years of finding the right people, speaking to whoever.
But explain to
me
what it is, though.
Oh, okay, yes.
There's that. That's all detail. You might want
a little detail. So I originally wanted to shoot a load of spacesuits and suits for the people that do certain jobs to have to wear these certain suits. So that was the Second Skin project. So that was a sort of a prelude to what became the NASA project. And then we would having this discussion about, wouldn't it be great to shoot spacesuits? And then I remembered basically that space was such a huge part of my childhood. It was
That's one of the things we share. So we're both totally obsessed with space, all of it.
All obsessed,
all
yes.
of it.
Especially the sort of shuttle period, I guess, because that was the one that we grew up with.
Yeah.
I mean, my
Did you ever see a shuttle take off?
No, you did, didn't you? You got you got a night launch.
Night launch.
Night launch.
It sounds like a heavy metal band.
Gotta go and see
Night launch live in concert.
Look at that thrust. So
Triple necked guitars.
Oh God, this is. I mean, I've already got ADHD. This conversation is just terrible.
It's going to go the way of all our conversations. All right.
Yeah.
So
yes. My earliest memory was of being in a pram at a friend of my mum's house, and we were watching.
For our American friends, a pram is a stroller.
A stroller, sorry, and seeing a set of moon landings. I don't know which mission it was, but so there's a sort of black and white TV, and I'm sat up in a pram, looking at what's going on TV, and then after the sort of childhood was definitely space shuttle and sci-fi. That was pretty much all I was obsessed about.
When I was 10 or 11, I wrote to NASA asking if they could sell me a spacesuit.
Really?
Did I tell you that?
Well, you've got the suit though.
Yeah, I know,
but
that was the end result of like a 30-year dream to have a spacesuit. Although it's a cosmonaut suit, the one I have.
Yeah.
But still,
it's pretty cool.
It's a spacesuit.
I wrote to thank God this didn't come off. I wrote to Jim will fix it. So, the renowned paedophile, Jimmy Savile,
Jim will fix it. So Jim will fix it was a TV show in the 70s and 80s?
70s and 80s, yeah.
Where this guy would arrange for kids to have their dreams come true. As it turns out, 30 or 40 years later, he turned out to be a massive paedophile, and
God knows what else as well.
I mean, all sorts of horrifying things.
Yeah, the full gamut of awfulness. He is the sort of captain of all of that. Terrible person. But as a kid, mind you, even as kids, we kind of looked at him going, dodgy. But
anyone who should Google Jimmy Savile. Google Jimmy Savile, and you will be amazed and wonder what was wrong with England that this man was on TV doing things with and for children,
and supported
by the BBC
and the government and the royal family.
And how did that happen?
Yeah.
When you look at the picture of him, he couldn't be any more.
Pedophile. It would be Jimmy Savile. But anyway, so thank God that didn't come off. But my thing to him was, I want to go to Cape Canaveral, as it was, and see a space shuttle launch.
Right.
But totally obsessed with them. So watched the very first one go up, and then every subsequent mission, and absolutely obsessed to the point that the sort of space program became such a huge part of my childhood. That was the thing that I could genuinely believe in. Astronauts everyone else was obsessed with rock stars and things, and I was obsessed with astronauts and NASA. NASA was like the thing.
That was the same for me. I had all these books. All I drew was spaceships. Yes. I mean, that's all I did.
With lasers, of course.
Yeah, with lasers.
Kind of have lasers. Yeah. So that was that sort
so
of
then you
carried
spent
on
4.5 years preparing the project, and then you spent another 5 years or so taking pictures of, every aspect of the Apollo. And did you do Mercury and Gemini?
We did. The idea was, I got to speak to the director of NASA. I got to speak to various secretaries at different departments. But trying to get hold of the right person at NASA is like saying you need to leave this room and go to another room. You've got to speak to the person that owns the carpet, the person that owns the door handle, the person that opens the door. It's a really long procedure.
Right.
So eventually I got to speak to the right people, and with the help of some friends at Wired UK magazine, we've got to do the first shot. So they said, okay, fine. They're like, okay, come along. You can go into this building and we'll show you the mock-up of the space station. So, everything they've got up in space, they've got a mock-up version here that they can train on, and also work out if there's any sort of, issues and how to update things and test them all on those things first. So 4.5 years later, I'm stood inside the mock-up of the space station with my assistant, just thinking, God, this is the longest, preliminary refair I had to
longest
do.
Pre-production meeting you've ever had.
Awful. But,
right.
And then just started shooting all these interiors, and we spent a day, and I was shooting on an Alpa camera, so it works by shooting in quadrants, so XY axis. So you would shoot top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right. Okay. So for my,
nerd,
off you go, nerd.
Run along now,
Redgrove. And so what I would do is I would also then on top of that is focus stack the images all the way through on a manual camera with a
Okay,
copal
so I'm
shutter.
just going to tell you that no one's going to know what that means. So
Okay.
you may have gone into the weeds here. I've been focus stacking and I'm in quadrants. Okay, so let's just pull back for a minute.
And shall I breathe?
So you were shooting this. The things you shot, it all culminated in this incredible book, which is a massive size, beautifully produced, incredible pictures, and it's pictures of Apollo suits. The space shuttle, what else?
Yeah,
capsules.
so we did. I tried to sort of. It wasn't supposed to be a sort of historic, encyclopedia of NASA. It was more about the objects and the non-important objects that people don't really.
Well, those are the unimportant stuff. Is really lovely. Like didn't you have the? You took a picture of the stamps. The ink stamps that they were, and what were they? Were they used for when they would stamp like this is Armstrong's suit?
Yeah.
Then they would ink a stamp and then stamp like all the bits that belonged to him.
The gloves, the liners.
Right. Okay.
So
did I ever tell you when I was shooting that thing for Nat Geo, and they would take me to various. I was doing a space story about Mars, but then they would kind of let me roam around a bit. So I was in some department I can't remember, it was in Houston, and it was the food bit where they make food for the space station. But then I started opening drawers. Did I tell you this? I was opening drawers. I was like, oh, here's some Mercury food. Oh, here's Skylab food. It was here's Apollo food. Like it just all in a drawer.
Yeah.
And for you and me, like I think we share an interest in it's all the kind of ancillary bits that people don't pay attention to, the detritus of the space program that kind of have the most resonance and the most emotion in a way, because they're these tiny things that mean something, they're the mundanity of space travel in a way.
It's exactly that. It's exactly that. That was what I was trying to show, was that the objects aren't just, it's not just something, right? It's you. You attach an importance to that with your knowledge or your experience of that object.
Yeah.
And the more you're into something, the more something completely irrelevant to most people becomes this kind
incredibly
of
relevant to you.
Incredibly relevant and very exciting.
Yeah.
It's like it's like finding a sort of holy relic. Okay, I'm not a religious man. Science is something I do believe in. Religion, not particularly much.
Yeah.
But so any object attached.
Have you heard the good news?
Have I heard the good news? Any object attached to that is really important.
Right.
So the rubber stamps, for example, they were. I was shooting the current EMU spacesuit helmets and gloves, and we were taken into
EMU
the space.
means
extra vehicular mobility unit.
Yes.
I
know, because I couldn't remember. I was like, wait, what does that mean? I remember the mobility unit.
Yeah.
What's the E bit?
Extra vehicular mobility unit. So it's basically your spacesuit for exploration, not your launch suit.
Yeah.
So it's the big white suit with the helmet and the camera and the gold visor.
Right.
And we were shooting the helmet for that in the spacesuit lab at Houston. And walking through the sort of myriad of corridors, and to get there, we went past this kind of glass cabinet.
Because that's what's amazing in Houston is this glass cabinets full of all this incredible stuff just lying around. I feel like it's just every time I walk past, I was like, could I just like empty that cabinet into my bag? Because every single thing is a thing that for you and me is so incredibly
Apollo
fascinating.
13 scrubbers are in there. You're like, what? That's the one?
Yeah, I know. Amazing.
Yeah. So there's some amazing things in these things. But we walked past this cabinet, and on the way, and I said, is this just for visitors? And he says, there's no visitors, don't come here. This is all the stuff this is the people that have worked in the lab over the years. They didn't want to throw something away. And if it's not made into another version of something, if they don't use it to carry on prototyping, then they'll keep it or they'll throw it away. So these guys have kept these bits. So I was looking at it going, this is the American space program from the start to where it is now. So there was the Mercury gloves.
Right.
Gemini gloves.
Right.
There was the current gloves. There was Armstrong's gloves. There was Cernan's gloves were in there.
Right. And what's interesting is that I'm sure for the people who work at NASA, they don't even see that as important stuff because it's just like wallpaper for them. They don't pay attention to it. They're like, oh, you want to come and shoot stuff? Of course you want to shoot a spacesuit. And I'm sure, were they kind of confused that you want to shoot rubber stamps?
I think when I did my first shot there with the space station interiors, they realized, I'm not going to steal anything, which I think is
Right.
probably quite important.
Right.
B, I'm respectful of what their wishes were. So I don't, if they say don't touch it, you don't touch it.
Right.
And, if you've got times to be out of places, then you make sure you're out. They've got busy work there.
Sure.
So I think after the first 2 visits, I had to go, you do 1 visit, I would come back, and then we would have to reapply for the next visit. So by the time I'd done the sort of 3rd visit, they were like, yeah, don't worry, just get this guy in, let him do some stuff.
Right.
And slowly the doors kind of more opened. And so when we saw this cabinet, he saw my eyes light up, and he said, do you want to shoot these?
Right.
I was thinking, Christ, okay. And they're in an Apollo launcher, the bubble helmet that they had for launches, were all the name stamps of all the astronauts from the Gemini program all the way up to shuttle.
Right.
So this big glass helmet. So I was like, this is just incredible. So we then tried to open the cabinet, realized the guy that had last opened the cabinet left 5 years ago with the key. Right. So there was a sort of moment of like, this can't fail. We have to get into this thing.
Right.
Eventually they opened it up and they said, yeah, just take what you want out. So I'm
holding
Ed White's glove,
right?
Ed White's training glove, right? This
is
just, for me, Ed White was a total hero.
Sure.
And then Gene Cernan's glove, and there's is stamped on the glove is Cernan's name, and then there's the rubber stamp right next to it, with all these other stamps. So, it
is unbelievable how much stuff there is just lying around casually. That for a space nerd like you or me, it just blows our mind. Like just one cabinet would be
Luna Hasselblad camera.
Yeah.
So we're shooting the suit.
I saw those.
Shooting the suit, and because I got friendly with the engineers, we've been there for 3 days, and we were down in the shooting the new exploration suit.
Yeah.
And I'm looking through the viewfinder of my camera at the time. It was a
don't go down
the technical route.
It's a quadrants with focus stacking.
So I'm looking through the viewfinder of my camera, and I see something gets placed on the table next to me, and I look to my right, and there was a Luna Hasselblad.
Is it all it's grimy?
It's not a training one. Okay, so it's one of the training.
Didn't they have? They left them on the lunar surface, didn't they?
No, they brought those. There's one. I think they brought them back.
I thought they
did. They? No, I think they brought them back.
Really?
I think
maybe.
So.
I thought they just shut them out.
Just like yeah.
We don't need
use that anymore. I don't need it.
It's rubbish.
He said, I was like, is this what I think it is? And I opened up the back, and there was the crosshairs, on the glass plate.
That's right.
And my assistant will tell you, there was tears. I mean, that was just one of the most emotional things. This was, this had been used by every single member of the Apollo crews who were training to take photographs. So if you
that's just for someone like you or me, that whole project was as an extraordinary, that's the glorious thing about being a photographer, man, is it allows you access to all sorts of things that you would never see. And in particular for you, you've made your kind of obsessions into a very successful photography career. I mean, the space stuff. Also, let's just talk about the cars for a minute. You've done these mythological photographs of, is it Pininfarina?
Bertoni.
Bertoni, that's right. But in the Bertoni studio, for some of those incredible Bertone concept cars from the 70s, which, first of all, the cars are amazing, but the way you shot them is really incredible. And then didn't you shoot Giugiaro?
Yes. I've had.
He's a,
yes.
Because, look, we should also tell people, you don't have, unlike a lot of people on the podcast, you don't have a lot of cars or watches, but I think you said you've got photographs of all the cars and watches you like to, and you have massive knowledge of all cars and watches.
Some knowledge. What do they say? A little knowledge is dangerous. Right. So I've got enough that gets me into trouble. Right. I guess.
Well, you've had some cars though.
I've had some.
Yeah. You had the Aston Martin
Vanquish.
Yeah,
I had a Vanquish.
Didn't you hate that with the gearbox?
The gearbox is not. You have to look at it as being a sort of very early, not so brilliant electronics, sort of not so great. But if you treated it with respect, it was kind of okay. But it was a glorious sound, right? I mean, it looked really sexy, and it had a glorious sound, and that was amazing. Yeah, DB7 before that. I had a Nissan Pulsar GTIR, which I imported from Japan.
I didn't know you had one of those.
Yeah,
I love those cars. They're amazing.
Insane little pocket rocket.
I think that's actually better than. I know that I'm going to get my nuts minced for saying this, but I think that's maybe as good or better than the Delta Integrale.
It's not as nice to drive as an Integrale.
Really? Because I drove one, and I thought it was, but only for a very short amount of time.
Really?
Yeah.
I think that the Integrale feels a bit more taut. Maybe my one was just a bit
baggy.
Quite possibly.
You know, as one ages.
As one ages, yeah.
Things tend to get baggy.
That was quite funny. Imported that from Japan.
Yeah.
Mark 1 Golf GTI.
That was my first car.
Was it?
Yeah.
What laser green or?
I beg your pardon. Laser, as in laser?
Isn't it laser green? Isn't it LHASA?
Oh, I thought you were saying laser, but in a weird English way.
Oh, laser.
Don't shoot me with your lasers, Darth
Fire
Vader.
your lasers at him now.
No.
No, it was. I think maybe I'm wrong.
Mine was black.
Black. Oh, okay.
With the little, but it was the rabbit in the States.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
My first car was a 2000 Touring, so a hatchback BMW 2000.
Oh.
So not 2002, 2000 Touring. Then I had an orange, Inca Orange 2002 Alpina A2S. So
that's nice.
Twin choke autos, 4-branch manifold. Used to catch fire all the time.
Did it?
Yeah, I called it Christine. It just was constantly trying to kill me.
But like a small little aperitif of fire, or
no,
like a full
like quite
inferno?
Good. So it had these
Like a
twin
Bomber
choke
Harris
autos
situation.
that would just basically
That's a very-
cars on fire. My girlfriend at the time phoned me and said, "The car's on fire. What should I do?" And I just said, "Put it out." That was pretty much at the end of our relationship, I think. But yeah, it used to sort of regularly do not great things. But
Right.
it was so much
That's in
fun.
the brochure.
Yes,
This car regularly does not great things.
Yeah, but it was great fun to drive.
Right.
Just constant little drifter around roundabouts and everything. It was really good fun.
Right.
Yeah, and then I've driven lots of cars for a friend of mine who used to be in the VSCC. He lost his license.
Did you drive as him?
I drove his cars for him to meetings and things. So Delage D8 through the middle of London. That was quite adventurous.
How old's that car?
That's the 1920s, I think. Late 20s, early 30s.
Is that that's not a
enormous.
synchromesh situation, right?
Oh God, no!
I don't.
There's
Can
nothing.
you do that?
There's nothing synchronous. Yeah, double clutching and yeah.
But
also that the and then Fraser Nash's and things. Well, no, because you've got the accelerator in the centre, right? The accelerator's in the middle.
You say that like I would know that. Right. You got center, right? Yeah. You got the steering wheel on the outside by the wheel.
You have to steer from up here, and then a brake on a big handbrake, which was doing most of the braking.
This is so depressing, man, because for someone who says they love cars as much as I'm so utterly useless. I can't heel and toe. I can't double clutch. I can't really do anything. Basically, I should only be driving Tiptronics.
That's it.
Really?
And with your eyes closed.
Yeah, that's right. I should have a chauffeur, in fact.
Get a Tesla and just do everything.
That's right.
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, I used to do a tiny bit of like racing and things, but nothing fancy at all. And wasn't any particularly brilliant racer or anything, but had a really good time. Probably my most successful one was my Volvo 240 GLT at Silverstone. That was good fun, racing a guy in a Lotus.
Wait, the full brick?
The full brick, yeah, in Burgundy. It was with a switchable overdrive, which is basically a switch that turns you into fifth.
As one,
As one does.
Well, how did that do against the Lotus?
Brilliant.
Really
well, yeah. Actually,
were you
I think he must have been a terrible driver.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just risking, like, I don't really care if this goes.
You were Red Misty.
I was just thinking, I don't really care what happens with me in the car, so I'm just going to go full.
Okay. Wait, we got lost on the Giugiaro story.
Sorry, yes, Giugiaro Giugiaro. Yes, I shot him for, I can't remember who it was for now. Was it Esquire or someone? It might have been. We shot part of his collection and him at his
personal
house.
car collection.
Yeah, well, his designs and his new designs.
I see.
I mean, just an amazing guy. I mean, it's motoring, royalty, if not even more than that. You know, I mean,
he's the Pope.
He really is.
Do you think Gandini is better or they're the same? Do you think they're equal Pope? Equi-Pope?
I mean, I think you've got to look at what Giugiaro designed.
Can you say it Italian style, man?
Giugiaro.
No, Giugiaro. It's like you're semi-drunk, Giugiaro.
Or you
fall asleep at the end of it.
Fall into a pint. Yeah, no, he, I mean...
Okay, so wait, Giugiaro...
Giugiaro.
It's like verbal roofies. Giugiaro. And then you just fall asleep.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, where were we? So
it's not going well. Giugiaro.
So we've got
and that's going to be
he
a
did
thing
the
now.
M1, the Delta,
Yes.
Panda.
Yep.
What did he do early on? A shitload of stuff.
Golf.
The Golf. But what about some of the? Did he do the Caribou?
Caribou.
The Karen, Citroën Karen. Did you do that? I can't remember who did
Caribou's Bertoni, isn't it?
that. Bertone.
Yeah.
What else? What other? So Gandini did the Shamal, that was the apex of his genius.
Yeah, of course.
Gandanki.
Gandalf.
Gandalf.
Gandalf. Yes.
Gandalf designed
Designed that wonderful wand.
did the wand.
Yeah.
So Gandini did the
Countach.
Did you do the Stratos? Who did Stratos? That was Bertone, but who did it?
Yeah, but isn't that Gandini yet?
I think so.
I mean, you have
He
to
did
look
Mura.
at you have to look at the. Yeah, but he also did the Countach, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
But
right,
I think
all right,
it's that
Countach.
arch. You've got to look at that rear arch shape on the Stratos.
Yeah, the slash. The
Yeah,
Gandini
and
slash.
that's him.
Yeah.
Through and through, isn't it? So
Okay, but I feel like maybe Gandini's winning, actually. Wait a minute.
I don't know. I think you can.
Shamal.
It's a good argument, right? Because you've got someone that's designed two cars for the masses, and then people that have designed sort of super, sharp designs,
Right.
supercars.
Right.
And you've got to look at which one is the more successful.
Oh, you know what Giugiaro did, I think? Didn't he do the Isogrifo? I'm pretty sure he did the Isogrifo.
You had that, didn't you?
Yeah, I had one of those.
You had one of them.
Yeah, I had that.
Hey, yo,
I had that.
Hey, old Isogrifo.
Giugiaro.
Yes. So yes, I think he's really cool. He was an amazing guy to shoot and really lovely to just be in his presence and his studio and standing next to his. There's his sketchboard. He's just there.
I saw there was some interview where he does in Italian, and he I can't remember. Do you remember? Do you know what I'm talking about? He's just incredibly terse. He's asked some question, and he just kind of cuts the interview off at the knees. Like,
Really?
Do you remember? Do you remember what I'm talking about?
No.
Shit. Okay. Now this is a fascinating. This
We
is
have
a
no
fascinating.
idea
Do you know
what
the
we're
thing I'm talking
talking
about? No.
No.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Well, anyway. Thanks, Phil.
One of my retouchers went to college where he was a sort of guest tutor, and apparently he would come in and just rip them apart, and then give up halfway through if he just didn't feel like he was into it
interesting.
anymore. So I think he's an older guy, right? And he's been there and done that. He's got nothing to prove.
Right.
And I think if you can make him happy, then great. But if not, then he's just not interested.
Right.
He was particularly lovely with us. I mean, really nice. And yeah. Just
But also that place you were shooting the cars, what was that, like the design? There was
that's
a special
his
area they
design
had
studios.
What were the cars you shot there? Was it the Boomerang?
At that place,
Yeah.
we did M1, we did Di Tommaso,
Guara.
not the Iguara. Iguara? Did you do the Iguara?
You know the car I'm really obsessed with?
Iguara?
I showed you yesterday. These
Sure.
Imperatore.
Oh, yes, that is insane. It reminded me a little bit of a Vector.
Yes, that's right.
There's bits
I
of
kind of
Vector
feel.
in there.
I feel like, but I think it's pre-Vector. I feel like the Vector might be. I mean, although it's now been recognized, but I feel like. Don't you think it's maybe one of the greatest designs of the last 20 years? Is that
The
an
Vector?
audacious? Is that crazy to say that?
God, that's quite a claim.
Would you like to push back on that?
But I can't think of anything else.
Because you know what I love about the Vector is that midline crease that kind of goes. The door goes
to the
out
door
and then in,
and into the wing.
no, the midline belt
Yeah,
line.
but that goes back and then goes
But
up
then
to the
the-
rear
but
wing,
it-
doesn't it?
Yeah, but the whole door kind of goes out and then comes back into the
Yeah,
body,
yeah.
which is amazing.
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? Because there are so many good concept cars. I mean, I think
Yeah, but that's a real car.
it is a real car.
I mean, you can't-
well, hang
no,
on.
I'm-
How many did they make? How many?
But they made
How
it.
many?
I mean, what do you mean, auctioneer? So
We can just do a compilation of us just going.
yeah, it could just be an edit. That's
Yeah,
all this
it's just-
podcast would be. It's just
yeah.
an edited version of us falling asleep to the word
So
Giugiaro.
brilliant.
Well, they made a few. They made quite a few. Well, not quite a few, but they made some. It was a real production car.
That's a very good term. How many did they make? Some.
Some. Well, it's more than a bloody
That's
concept car, which is one.
Boris Johnson's kind of comment.
But some.
I just want to have for the record. He's gone today.
That's all me. It's my gift to you.
Thank you very much. That's very good of you to supply that.
I'd just like to help out.
But I think the concept car thing and NASA are so closely related for me, because all of those cars that we shot for Bertoni, that was for a wallpaper shoot for 2004 or something, I think.
Yeah.
And they're a similar thing for me. They hold the same kind of magic. When I was growing up, I remember having a model of that Stratos.
Yeah.
And then on that shoot at the end, it was one of the last shots we did of the day. We were there for 2 days.
The concept car Stratos.
Yeah.
What was it called? It wasn't called the Stratos. Was it called the Stratos Zero? No. What?
Yeah, it's zero.
Okay.
And so we were going to move it. It's got a little Fulvia V4 engine in the back of it. And so we opened up the front to get in it to do one of the shots of the interior. And the mechanic from the museum said, I'm just going to move the car around the back. And I said, okay, great. He said, do you want to drive it? So, this is just like, holy shit moment.
Right.
And so I sat in it, and it wouldn't start. So they towed me around.
So you were just
steering.
What's it like sitting in there?
It was a hot day.
I know the guy who owns that
Italy.
thing now.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's done it. He's driving
But now
it,
he's
right?
driving it around.
Driving it around, which is brilliant. I
Yeah.
absolutely 100% approve of that.
That's right.
I also approve of his stamina in doing that, because it's unless he's got some sort of air conditioning system in there now, it's like sitting in a sort of coffin glass house. Where the sort of steering wheel comes up between your legs.
Oh, is the steering wheel the one? Does the steering wheel have all the buttons on it?
It's like a round dome with a black outer wheel, but I don't remember there being any buttons.
Okay, maybe
on
that's
it.
another car.
And you sat inside. Isn't that the Aztec?
Aztec.
Oh no, it's the
Aztec does that, but
it does. But there are a few other ones that have got the.
Yeah, that's right.
So it comes up between your legs, and you've got this kind of padded leather seat that you lie in.
Right.
And
you think about that,
and the glass is like here, and then if you're talking about the fold on the Vector, that's exactly the same as on the Stratos. It's got a glass fold that does that.
Yeah, that's right.
With a gold line.
If you think about it, they really anticipated the whole buttons on the steering wheel thing, and it took like 40 years for that to show up.
Yeah. Yes.
I wish they did. I mean, I feel like the concept cars now are not as audacious, because they're just like they're sort of slightly detuned production cars.
I think that's the thing, though, right?
Aesthetically.
Aesthetically, that I think they're it costs a lot to make one of those, right? The clay model, then the
But I feel like, isn't it a lot cheaper now, because there's you can just sort of 3D printing, all the rest of it.
You can do that, but I don't think they are 3D printed. I think they're still clays and then covered in that film,
Right.
And A, that's a lot of money. B, I think it's I think the public were getting a little bit bored of seeing something, and then nothing comes out. Right.
That's right.
So
they had concept car rage.
Yeah, exactly. There was a big protest in the world.
Like, for instance, actually, do you remember? There was that Subaru WRX concept. Do you remember that from a few years ago? It looked amazing. But that just, you don't remember this?
I don't know.
It was really cool. Like, it looked like it could have been a production car, and this just depresses me. Like, Subaru makes the WRX is such a great car, and it's always unfailingly utter miserable. It's like minced balls to look at. But and then
we've designed our cars on a lovely design study of minced balls.
Yeah, that's right. It's not like Chris Bangle had the flame.
Yeah. Minced ball design. Oh, lovely.
That's right. But also, like, for instance, remember, what was it? The Toyota, was it the Supra? Whatever the do you know what I'm talking about, with the kind of curvy front end?
Yes. Yeah.
And the concept was like really actually very cool. And then the final production thing,
they just watered down.
Yeah, well, it was really interesting actually to look at, because it was sort of 10% different but completely terrible.
We've taken the worst bits of the concept car and put it onto the production car.
Do you know what I'm talking about, though?
I don't know which one you mean.
Okay, thanks.
I'm just trying to be really unhelpful.
You are.
Your statements.
I
do you remember this? No.
Yeah.
Do you know who I am?
No. Do you know what I'm doing?
Where you
No.
are? No idea.
Okay.
But I think those concept cars, though, they are, they were something that represented a future. And even if you look at them, now, they're still the future.
Yeah.
Most concept cars now are, this is what we're going to make, and we've put some slightly oversized wheels on it,
right,
and maybe the lights are a little bit.
That's
freaky.
exactly right. Well, I agree with them. I mean, that's what was so lovely about the 70s. There was still, I feel like, there was still belief in the future there.
Yeah.
And then gradually the idea. I mean, do you remember I remember so clearly when I was a kid in England in the 70s, thinking about, like, the idea of the future seemed so exciting.
Yeah.
In just technologically speaking.
Well, we had everything that's future. We had Concorde was going right, and that was the future then. It's still, you look at it now, it still looks like the future.
That's right.
And Boom, the Boom jet which is being developed at the moment, is basically a mini Concorde.
That's right.
So,
but they were. But this is interesting actually, because I feel like maybe the idea of the future was applauded and embraced, right? And it was also applauded and embraced by the corporations, by companies. And I feel like now we don't really talk about the future. We talk about like the possibility of a production-ready thing that will be, Q4, ready for Q4.
Yeah, it's very scheduled.
Yeah, like there's no like, scheduled. We're going to do this crazy thing and it's going to be this.
I guess the only person that's really doing it is Elon, right? Elon Musk.
Right.
I'm saying it like I know.
Yeah,
me and EM.
Because you were just texting earlier.
Oh. As I call him.
What was that?
Yeah, I mean, he's the one that's actually saying, I'm going to do this, and then, coming up with fairly bold claims,
right,
and pretty much following through.
But even with, well, you're absolutely right. I mean, if there's anyone who's embodies the future, it's him. But I would say that all the stuff he's doing, although actually I had some tears, and this is a weird thing to confess, but the first time the two solid rocket boosters land on their own, I kind of burst into tears because it was so kind of, that to me was like miraculously futuristic. And it was weird. I was really tearing up because it was just so amazing to see that.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it was so amazing to see that. It was
almost
fucking magic.
Unreal. It was to the point where you're looking at something thinking, this has just happened. And I think because of the way the footage was shot and because of the angle of it and because of all the heat, you got this haze and it looked very CGI-like. And also the synchronicity of it.
That's right.
That was just,
but you think about it's funny because the magic of of SpaceX is all the kind of the crazy sort of these. It's not in we're going to send a rocket up. It's all the ancillary bits like, these solid rocket boosters are landing on their own on platforms in the ocean.
Yes.
Or, we're going to catch this booster. Don't they have something where they have the plane?
They've got the nets.
Yeah, the nets, and we're going to catch this thing. I mean, those things in some ways seem more miraculous than just the regular, we're going to send the rocket up business.
Yeah, way more. I mean, just the guidance of being able to do that and successfully do it.
Yeah. And
also the I don't give a shit bit of when it went wrong. Was so brilliant.
Well, didn't he have a rapidly unscheduled disassembly or something?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that which is brilliant. But he's not a government organization.
Right.
People make these comparisons between him and NASA all the time, and he is him. Right. He has to answer to him.
Yeah.
And that's it. So, he's able to sort of take everyone that was ex-NASA or engineers that wanted to join there and say, forget what you've done before. What should we do?
It's funny you say that, man, because I was thinking about this the other day. Like, for some reason, I was just thinking, what joy it must be to be like, work at NASA for 20 years, then you go to work at Musk's joint.
Yeah.
And he goes, all right, don't think about all that. Don't bother all that paperwork bullshit. What have you got?
Yeah. I think those things, those sort of free environments obviously create different ways of working. I mean, it's the Formula One equivalent would be working for McLaren when Ron Dennis was there, and then working for Red Bull. You've got the sort of freedom to go, hey, yeah, let's do this and let's put some extra wings on it and also have a drink while we're doing it and put the music on. And it's that how you're going to install creativity is freedom, and I think that's what he does. I think Elon Musk has got that kind of balance right.
But even for Elon, even like the stuff he's doing, they are all ideas. They are not. I mean, look, I don't want to take anything because I think he's doing extraordinary things and he's sort of pushing the planet forward as more than anyone I can think of. But the things he's doing are still things that we've been envisioning for 30 or 40 or 50 years, right? But he's doing them, which is amazing. But what I mean is like for instance, when we were a kid, I just assumed there was going to be, like food process, like a machine, like on Star Trek, there's tea Earl Grey hot, or, they would just
tea Earl Grey, slightly milky,
but it would just not the tea, you bastard, but you know what I mean, like it would just appear.
Your future drink. Oh, it's 2001. Oh, do you remember the famous scene where they drank the Earl Grey?
Yeah, yeah, but or even like 2001. Like I thought, okay, we're gonna be, I remember when I was a kid looking at calendars and seeing like 2000. Thinking, God, that seemed like so futuristic. Yes. Think, God, I'm going to be in my 30s. That's ancient. And I was convinced I would be, probably go for like a weekend with, the orbiting space station. Geosynchronous orbit, got up there for a couple of days.
Wow, you really did think it was,
I felt like it might happen in the 70s because in the 70s it seemed possible.
I think 2000 felt like a long way away.
That's right.
And it's that, that date, that magical date.
Yeah.
And so everything is going to be going with it. I'm not sure I felt like we would be going to Mars or flying in space, but I did.
What about tea Earl Grey hot?
But the Earl Grey thing was going to be
Definitely going to have a cup of tea.
Yes.
Definitely going to have a cup of tea.
Definitely have tea, probably Earl Grey, and out of something like polystyrene.
And maybe I'm probably hot.
And probably hot,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
With a milk amount that you would want. The desired amount, the ratio.
But you know what I
was
mean?
there.
Like I wish there was some. The sad thing about the future is that what was the most radical thing about the future is the most invisible thing, which is the internet. That's changed everything.
Yeah,
but you don't see it. There's no like matter transport, materializing foodstuffs, jaunts to the fucking orbit.
You couldn't foresee that when you were growing up.
Yeah.
Right? That must be that. The only thing that I think that vaguely came around that we could kind of foresee was, as a kid you walked around holding your imaginary walkie-talkie, right? When you wanted everything on that. So the phone is about the nearest thing that I think of modern technology that we've got that is now.
But I just want something flashy.
You've got flashy cars. What's wrong with
Flashy
those?
bastard.
Jesus.
No, I mean,
ungrateful bastard.
No, you know what I mean? Like, I want to be able to go bloody into space for a bit and not have to pay $20 million.
Well, that's the thing, right? And also, the
like the
Jeff
Virgin
Bezos,
stuff.
and Virgin stuff. It's not. It's. I don't know. I don't have a sort of positive thing to say about that.
Why not? About like a
suborbital
jaunt.
I think I respect the technology and the engineering and the training and all the ability that goes into launching an astronaut into space to go and do some justified experiments and work, and then to come back. That is an enormous thing to do, and I think what the hey, we can go up and I can take you up into a vaguely the sort of outer atmosphere and back down again on a little joyride, and the way they're doing it as well. I think
what about
fuel,
Instagram? Think of all the
Instagram
Instagramming possibilities,
you
man.
could take a meal up, photograph it against did you?
Then you can wear a watch, and then it's flown, and then you can auction it for zillions.
Yes. Oh God. Yeah.
I love those stories of all the astronauts, like in the early Mercury, Gemini, and even Apollo, just stuffing their pockets with detritus, like shit. They were just pins, ball bearings, whatever it was, like badges.
Yeah. I mean, that the space program is sort of. I think it's become this kind of commercialized thing that's lost a little bit of respect for what was going on with the actual sort of technical, advanced discovery research.
But why are you against the touristy bit? Wouldn't you like to go up for the suborbital? I mean, come on. If I said, okay, Redgrove, I've got you a ticket, you're going to go up. I mean, come on. There's no way you wouldn't leap at that, and then you would be fizzing with joy afterwards.
I think there'd be a genuine dichotomy. Really? Yeah, I really do. I think I'm. I don't know. I think I've got a moral, some sort of. It's not what Jesus.
He wouldn't want that.
Should we ask him?
Have a word. Have a word.
Yeah, and I don't.
Why? Why?
I hold on to these things. I think that, as I said, this belief thing for me in what they're doing and the space program and all that it stands for is greater than these little trips up and down.
No, I don't disagree with you, man. But I feel like there's room for both. Why have you got to be like such a dictator about it, bro?
Because I'm space dictator.
Greetings, Earthlings.
Benedictator. It's I don't know. Maybe, like you say, maybe if someone offered it to me.
Come on, I know you'd eat your own balls to go up in space.
I have eaten my own balls.
As it turns out.
But I don't know. I mean, I'd like to go up in a. I really wanted to go up into a Lightning, right? In South Africa, you used to be able to go and fly in a Lightning.
You used to be able to do that in Russia with the MiG 35.
Well, you probably can do it for different reasons now, right?
Yeah.
But yes, and I thought that would be quite cool, right? Because that's you're going up extremely high. I did a shoot with U2 pilots, and
that's right.
And
can we talk about that?
We can kind of talk about it, and I made this film about U2 pilots, about their suit, their training, and what it's like what they would experience.
Yeah.
And as part of that film shoot, which is back onto the thing of being a photographer and making films gets you into these extraordinary places. Part of that was I chatted to the pilots and chatted to the people at the base at Beale Air Force Base, and they said, we will get you up. We'll take you up in a U2. So
wait, did that happen?
No. So
God, man, I can't. I can only.
That, you see, that to me would have been. I mean, I would have, you know, if I come back and died, I would have been happy because it was just, it's like a dream, right? You know, that's a mystical.
I mean, no, I had a much lower rent version of that. I was shooting air shows obsessively for a while, and I got to be friends with these Air Force PR people, and they said, we're going to get you up in a C-130 when they open up the back and all the seals jump out, and you can just sort of be tethered watching all that stuff happen. Yeah. But that's nothing like. I mean, that's like that's like me comparing a hamburger to your 3 Michelin star meal. Like, what? I don't know why I said that.
It was pretty. It was. An
but look at this. Look at this cheeseburger. Look at it.
It's from Switzerland.
I mean, I can only imagine. I can't even imagine how.
It's an amazing moment when they say we're going to do that, right? And so, but part of
why did that not happen?
Well,
because of the incident.
Because of the incident.
Yeah.
So part of being a U2 pilot is people come to the U2 program from all parts of the Air Force, and have flown from cargo planes to fighter jets to reconnaissance, and they're invariably though they're not wearing full pressure suits. So part of wearing a full pressure suit is you're very much on your own, right? The moment that visor closes down and everything's locked in and you're pressurized, it's very claustrophobic, and I am extremely claustrophobic, right? That's not the thing that stopped me doing it. So I managed to get on the suit. They talk me through the process. They plug you in so they can talk to you. So the visor goes down and there's this incredibly loud rushing of air around the suit, and then they equalize the pressure and it goes silent. And the other pilot said to me, the thing that's going to freak you out, it's not that you can't hear or talk or anything, because once you're plugged in you can. It's that you are then on your own, and the only thing to talk to is your mind. So
which you never want your mind in particular.
Really
you don't want your mind to be chatting away with you.
There is one cell, and there's an awful lot of chatter between that one cell.
That's right.
So it was. So I did it. I put the suit on and was fine. I managed to sort of calm myself down. I found a place where I was like, great, this is good. And he's like, brilliant. You're good, actually. You're really good. We can do this. So I then got put onto the list of the people for civilians. Yeah. But the civilian flights, they have a trainer plane, so it has the pilot sits in the front, and then the training pilot sits higher up at the back. Unfortunately, there'd been an incident.
IBS?
Again. There had been an incident with somebody else, and until they could rectify that problem.
So what was the incident?
I can't say.
Oh, come on.
No, I can't say.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, but
IBS.
But apart from the incident, so until they could rectify that, then they weren't able to take people up, and that was a few years back. So I think I'm probably maybe I'll probably have to take a medical now before I could go up, and would have to go through the whole procedure again.
Right.
But it was an opportunity.
So how was that, even putting on a suit?
Incredible. I mean, they are. I've worked with lots of people in various industries, so from military through Lockheed Skunk Works, places where they take you through a corridor and you're going to shoot this thing at Lockheed Skunk Works, and you walk through these doors and you're with your host who will not leave that person, right?
Right.
And so you're walking through the corridors going, okay, this is really cool. I wonder what's through those doors, and they just turn to you and go, what doors? And you think, okay, this is conversation's going no further.
So right there.
Yeah, after that you just don't bother, right? There's no point in talking to them about. It's like asking a U2 pilot how high they go. They have a regulation answer, and they're not going to give you the real answer.
It's like the Rolls Royce adequate.
Yes, yeah. So it's so I get to see all these incredible places, and the thing that's constant throughout all of that, whether it's a Formula One team or it's the military or it's just some sort of interesting organization that you can't really talk about, then they are all so professional, and everything's done with such precision and care. It's not like they just go through the motion to do something.
Well, everything matters.
Everything matters. Yeah. And they know what the risks are.
Right. Well, that's why everything matters, is because there are tremendous risks.
Yeah.
And there are real repercussions if you fuck around.
Yeah. So it's really interesting. So whenever I go to one of these places, I'm always literally in good hands, and with people who you have an immediate respect for.
Right.
And I think if they understand that you respect them, then they sort of,
Sure.
they give it back as much as you give it to them. It's really it's incredible. It's really humbling, actually. I went to Atacama Desert in Chile, working with the European Southern Observatory there, part of ESA, in their big space telescopes they've got there. And I was chatting to one of the scientists there, talking about matter and dark matter.
As one does.
And the whole thing about a little knowledge. So I started talking to her. She said, "So what do you think that is then?" I said, "Well, dark matter is this, right?" And sort of gave her the wisdom of my
your
wonderful years
as a particle physicist.
As a particle physicist. And she said, yes. Right. And I said, "So that's right?" And she said, "Yeah, absolutely none of that is right at all." So I think to be told by these people that what you know is wrong, but then be told what is right, and to have those experiences is something that's, that's the genius part of what we do.
It's very interesting, man, because when I did that Nat Geo thing, I spent quite a bit of time in Russia, and the feeling there, it was so different from. There's a certain reverence at NASA and at Houston for the things, the objects, the stuff. Everything is collected, honored in some. Even if it's in a cabinet, it's put there because it matters. Someone thinks, "Well, I shouldn't throw this away," but so I went to shoot I can't remember if I ever told you the story. The Soyuz capsule coming down.
Right. Yes.
Right.
It's completely different, right?
Yeah. So the capsule's in a field. It's not like it's all cordoned off. I walk up to the capsule. There's Mark Kelly. I'm just taking pictures. He's in there still. I'm taking pictures, and he's just looking at me through the window like, "Who the fuck are you?"
No one with a Geiger counter or anything.
I'm right up against the capsule taking pictures, and people just milling around and all this kind of stuff. And then we'd come in on some snowmobiles for the last couple of miles because our cars are broken down. With these Russian guys who are getting me across the steppes of Kazakhstan. Did I not tell you this? And then the snowmobile broke down, and then so we got. So they're walking around and they found, here's the discarded heat shield from the Soyuz capsule. Let's strap the snowmobile on top of the discarded heat shield and tie it onto the back of an SUV, and we'll just tow it back to the home.
Oh my God.
Which is what they did. And I took all these bits of the heat shield, put it in my pocket for souvenirs. But it's amazing that if this is America, that heat shield would have been taken, analysed, stored, in a temperature-controlled vault.
You would be in embargo still.
Yeah, but it was just rubbish.
Yeah,
and it was so fascinating. But there was also a kind of weird joy, like when the cosmonauts and the astronauts were taken out of the capsule, they were all carried on the shoulders of all these Russian soldiers, and they were like, there was this kind of, it was this kind of informal joy to it that was sort of beautiful at the time.
I think there's a lot more relaxed attitude
for sure
over all of their they've got the Roscosmos history is it's a really interesting history. And
also everything's ancient.
Have you been
to Space City?
Yes,
Everything's
Star City.
ancient Star City, sorry.
Yeah.
Everything's ancient in it. It's all like you see
It's
the
all
Gagarin
falling apart
murals and it's all kind of rubbishy.
Yeah, and I guess the money for the space program was, the Star City is a city, right? It's got hospitals, it's got schools, it's got buildings for everyone to live
playground.
in. It's got everything. It's a really odd place.
Yeah.
But I guess since the budget was cut, it's just essential. Just the essential buildings are being maintained, and the people that work in those essential buildings are there for most of the time. So it's an odd place, and Russia has a very different way of doing things. America's version of space is polished, and Russia's version is, what do we need to do it? And also, I don't care how anyone's done it in the past. This is how we're going to do it.
Well, also, this is how we've been doing it for the last 40 years.
Yeah,
and
well, in the case of that,
yeah. I remember I was watching the cosmonauts who had been up in ISS. They'd been there for whatever, a year, and I was following a guy, and he was having medical tests done, but all the gear was 1960s stuff. It was just, it was fascinating.
Well, when I was there, I was photographing it was another shoot for Wired, actually. We were photographing my mind's gone blank as to what the guy's name was. His dad was a shuttle pilot, and he ran a games company, started a games company, and could afford to go up. Garrick? Garrett. Somehow,
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
It'll come to me. Maybe it won't. But
Most likely not.
most likely. But when they were doing the training for him to go up, so he paid his whatever it was. I think 40 million. Then it was something like that to go up, and they were doing the training day inside a classroom. So it was him sat at a table with a cutout of the instrument panel in front of him.
Yeah.
And I think he had some switches and dials. So he had to learn Russian Cyrillic, is it called?
Cyrillic. Is it?
So he had to learn whatever it was, hieroglyphics. Yeah. But he had to learn that because they weren't going to change anything for him, and obviously the other cosmonauts are Russian, and of more importance. But he was just basically doing his thing on these, basically a pen and paper cutout of the construct of the panel.
Yeah.
And so everything's done to a point. It's like, if you don't need to do this, then why should we invest in all these other things?
There's that whole story of NASA spent millions developing the space pen.
Yeah, it's bullshit, right?
Is that bullshit?
Yeah, it's bullshit. Yeah.
Is it?
It's not true. Yeah.
But didn't they spend millions designing that
Well,
pen?
NASA did spend a lot, but Russians didn't go and use a pencil.
What do they use?
You don't want bits of graphite floating around.
No, that's right. Do they use a regular biro?
I guess so. I don't know. I don't know what they did, but I think that story has been proved to be not real.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Thanks for shaming me.
Sorry, just ruined your career.
Get out.
Leave now. But it is an amazing. They've got such a, they have their own unique way of doing it. I don't want to big it up too much at the moment though, because of what's going on.
I'm with you. I mean, it's hard to say nice things about Russians these days.
It really is, yeah. But
the Russian government primarily.
Primarily, yeah. It was. Let's get off that. I don't want to go. Okay. It'd be a nice little edit down there. But back on the concept car thing, just to go back to that.
Just go back
to
there.
You back to that.
Let me just check the time. We're good for time. Okay.
The thing about the future that we were talking about, that sort of golden period. I think that it has gone, but it's come back. I think during the 80s it was all about affluence and everything else, right? And it sort of showed in the designs of things.
So what do you think is where is the kind of obsession, or where's future forward idea? Where's that happening?
Well, I guess.
Or in what way that manifests itself?
I think you have to look at. You've got to look at alternative power sources, right?
Sure.
So people looking at hydrogen and looking at battery electricity. I'm not entirely sure that battery electricity is the right way to go, but I'm not an engineer, so I can't really talk about that with any sort of great gravitas.
Have you driven an electric car?
I've driven a couple. Yeah, I did. I shoot for Polestar.
Okay.
So
what's that like?
I haven't driven one of their cars because every time we shoot a location, and then the car we CGI the car in because the car hasn't been launched yet, so we can't shoot it. But I have driven the i3 BMW, and I've been around Monaco in an i8 BMW.
What's the i8 like?
i8 it's fast. It was really. I mean, battery cars are fast anyway, right?
The i8's so peculiar because every time I still see them, but when I see them, I still think it's super cool. But then I feel like it's a bit sad somehow.
It's a little bit. I shot them before they were launched at the Zaha Hadid factory.
Yeah. Why is it that they've gone slightly sad?
It's that back. The little back quadrant that's got that kind of cutout.
But it's not even it's not the design that makes it's just that the idea of that car somehow seems like a bit of a failure. You know what I mean?
The C11 that we were talking about the other day, the front of it reminds me a little bit of that, and the overall shape has got elements of that in it.
Yeah.
I think because it was such a sort of, when things come out and they look very different to everything else, and they've got those little design flares to them, they're either going to be great for that moment and then awful for a long period, and then they'll be revised at another point where people would go to appreciate it. And I think that's probably one of those designs. I think in sort of 10, 15 years' time, people will probably look back at it and go, it's actually quite cool. But I think at the moment, it's in that bit where you're like, that's a bit...
Yeah, like it feels somehow cheesy. Like I feel like they've gotten cheap enough where you see people driving them around. You
don't see them very often though, do you? And there's not...
Every now and then I see them in New York.
Right. But they're not a common, it's not a, you see Ferraris more than you're going to see one of those, I think. I still think the i3 was one of the most adventurous bits of design.
We were talking about the other day about I blathered on it endlessly, the Ioniq 5.
Yeah, that's that's a fantastic bit of design, I think,
Yeah.
and it's still the thing where you can't quite work out the scale of it. You know, am I standing very close to it? Am I standing far away from it? How big is this? I don't really quite get it, because it looks like a sort of big Golf, big Mark I Golf,
or a Delta,
or a Delta.
That's what everyone always says.
It's got elements
bits.
of bits. Yeah, but it's really successful. I think it's a brilliant bit of design.
You know what I love? Actually, I saw one on the way here. That Honda City car, the really beautifully designed, super in that neon yellow color.
Oh yeah, I
what I'm talking
I shot
about?
the launch of that. I made the film for that one as well. But
I think that's really a lovely piece of design.
It was the original prototype. Again, that's another prototype.
Well, they built
thing, right?
they built. I think didn't they build the production car first, and then they had to build like something to show it
the prototype to
second.
Yeah, well, it was the prototype had a bit more magic about it. I think the proportions about it were a little bit better. The wheel size was larger.
But that came second, I think.
I don't know. Maybe that I've heard
there was some weird story about that.
It's a really interesting bit of design. The interior is lovely.
Yeah.
It's rear-wheel drive as well. But the range on it is
minuscule.
It's tiny, isn't it?
I
think for a city car kind of thing, which is
I know, but I feel like
but the thing is, you're spending £28,000 or something.
Right.
So I don't know what they are.
You sort of want to feel like you. I think that was a real strategic mistake. I mean, I don't know if it's possible to make a car that size with decent range.
It's a bit bigger than you think, I think. But I think that battery technology as well is changing, right? You know, I mean, you've only got to look at the batteries in your phone, right? Which is, you're getting so much life out of them from what they used to be and what they have to do, and the fact they're on most of the time.
Right.
I think battery technology in cars is changing as we go along. So soon a car of that size will be able to have a battery that lasts a lot, is have a much greater range. So in that respect, it's good. And driving EVs is bloody good fun.
I know, I really like it.
It's
I
great.
really love it.
The immediate torque.
Car people get upset about the idea of electric cars, but it's just a totally different experience. But one that, for me at least, is thoroughly enjoyable.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like bumper cars when you're a kid.
Yeah, it's that thing, and also the sound's quite cool. I mean, when I
love all the super spacey sounds.
Yeah,
I saw that Taycan estate, whatever it was, station wagon, whatever it's called, Sport Turismo. Yeah, going past it was, it was making this like full Star Wars sound.
You want the sound, don't you?
I love that.
You need it. I think there's that immediate torque part, and also the recharge. That's kind of slightly addictive to see how many more miles you can get back from when you got into it.
Yeah, they've kind of gamified it.
Yeah, it's
That's
great.
Right.
I'm all for it. I really like them, but I think at the moment they're A, prohibitively expensive, and B, the sort of charging networks.
You're driving what now? A Land Rover?
I've got a Range Rover. Yeah,
a Range Rover.
Range Rover.
Oh wait, is it an old one?
No, so I had the end of the Mark I shape.
Okay,
and that then went for an MOT, and we decided that the massive holes in the floor were probably not supposed to be very good.
It wasn't factory.
It wasn't so good. So I then got a last of the line of the L322 model, which is the sort of big boxy one. And that's just
I thought those never
genius.
Worked. What year is that?
Oh man, mine's
what
nothing's ever broken on it. It's amazing.
What year is that?
2012 mine is. Westminster model. The Westminster.
What does that mean?
I think it's just the end of the line. So it was like it has lots of
It
affairs.
has parties,
I'm away, so I'm like having a go with a Mini.
There's parties in the back during lockdown. That's what happens. This is a full English political joke, by the way.
Yeah, it comes with rubber seats. It's genius, right? Because I shoot a lot in Europe, and then my daughter lives in Rome with her mum. So I sort of, if I'm shooting down the south of France at Airbus or somewhere, then I'll go down to Rome, and it's amazing. I can get all my kit in there, get my assistant in there. We can go down, shoot, and come back, and it's genius bit of kit. If there wasn't a massive fuel issue and there wasn't the sort of end of the planet, I would happily keep that. But I have to be responsible. So hopefully Polestar have said they'll lend me a car for a bit.
Well,
so
that'd be nice.
That would be really nice.
They won't make something that carries all the gear.
Well, they do. They've got a new one that's coming out.
Oh, I see.
So that's a bigger model, which will be able to get everything in.
Get everything in.
My next projects as well, which are sort of, they're based all around Europe. So that will be a really good thing. Take the Polestar around, go and be environmental in towns everywhere else, and not not feel guilty about because I mean you right, you can't help it. I mean I don't know.
I feel guilty.
Yeah, I think driving a big.
Oh, sorry.
You wuss.
Fuck it. Why don't you grow up here, bro?
I do. I think it's like they've sort of done what happened with drink driving and driving without a seatbelt. Right, there's that sort of social responsibility that you have with everyone else.
It's actually, you know what? I feel like it's going to end up like smoking.
Yeah.
Do you know what I was thinking would be great? You know when you see, like, I can't remember if it was Edward Stan Winston something. There's an amazingly famous photograph. I think it's from the 50s. There's these people that are in a drive-in, and then there's a steam train going behind the drive-in. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do know.
And I think that in a way,
Edward Weston.
No, I don't think so. Anyway, but I was thinking it would be actually amazing to take photographs of office workers smoking outside the office buildings. And in like 40 or 50 years' time, people will be amazed at those pictures. Because they'll be saying, holy shit, I can't believe people actually smoke. Was it legal? They're doing it in public? How come they weren't shamed or stoned? Like, you know what I mean? Like it'll be one of those things.
Nick Turpin, the documentary photographer.
Oh, did he?
I think he's done that. I remember him shooting. We used to be the same agents.
Why do you have to crush my dreams?
Oh, ruin it. I'm sorry, man. I think he did a project on that.
Oh, smoking
on people smoking outside offices. Yeah,
but exactly. But that it's interesting because that's not interesting now.
But it will.
But it will be.
Yeah.
And I wonder if there are other things that, like I was trying to.
Do you think we'll be interesting then as well?
No, we're not even interesting now. in 30 years' time,
there's no come round because there never was a thing.
In 30 years' time, we've been less interesting. We just all mumbled. Yeah. I think that might draw us to a conclusion.
Is that it? Am I just one of the 1 hour episodes?
No, that was an hour and a half.
No.
It's 3:30.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Is it? Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That was an hour and a half of glory, man. How much more do you want, Ben?
Oh, I don't know. That's good.
Fine. Okay, let's do another 3 hours. I'm sure everyone would love to hear. Two old geezers rambling.
About the issues. The middle-age issues.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. No. Ben and I were talking earlier about the fact there's nothing good to be said for growing older. You know all that bullshit? You know people say age is just a number? You know the only people say that is young people.
Young people.
Like when you're old, you don't go, age is just a number.
Yeah, no, it becomes a bit of a pain in the arse, quite literally.
Everything is rubbish.
Yeah.
Can you think of one good thing about getting old?
Oh, I don't know. I think that.
Here we go. Now you're going to be all positive.
Yeah, no, I think there's a. I think that
those glasses.
My glasses.
Those you didn't have those 10 years ago.
No,
they're very stylish.
Really great. Right?
Amazing.
I'm stylish, but I can't see anything here without when I got them on. No, I think there's a sort of like a little bit of sort of wisdom that's quite good.
Yeah, but you know what, man? I would happily trade all the wisdom of old age for total ignorance of youth. Because the thing is this: when you're young and you don't know anything, you think you know everything anyway. So isn't that a kind of wisdom?
Well, yeah, maybe.
I put it to you, sir.
Ignorance is good in some respects, right?
Yeah, because when you're 20...
Being able to sit down without going, or stand up
or stand up. Because Lulu, my daughter, is 12 and thinks she knows everything.
Yeah.
Right? And so
I have a Lulu too, also the same age, but they are different people.
Different.
Very, very, very different.
But so, she thinks, I bet she, when she talks to me, she just can't believe how little I know.
Right.
And I bet she thinks...
That's it. Do you not remember being that age? Just looking at a parent going, oh, come on.
Yeah, no, she's baffled. She's incredulous at my ignorance about how the world works. Oh, this is what you do, Dad. This, like the words I don't know. You don't know what this is. All this stuff. So that's a form of wisdom.
I guess so.
Right?
Yes.
And for us.
And then there's the arrogance that goes with that, right?
Well, but there's also the arrogance that goes with when you're older. Yeah. You think because you've lived, you now know all sorts of stuff. But actually, from a 12-year-old perspective, we don't know anything.
We're constantly going through life just thinking we know it all. None of us do. Yeah. Except for the really clever people.
So I would go for the ignorance of the youth, only because everything then worked.
Yeah,
I was lying in bed this morning. I was lying in bed this morning, just counting all the stuff that hurt for no reason. Like, my hands hurt. What's that all about?
It's like you go through. It's like a sort of one of those checks you probably go through on your Shamal. We press the button. And
it's like a flight checklist. You got the clip.
It doesn't work. Doesn't work.
The pilots walk around the plane. They're like, they're
touching everything. Yeah, just got everyone off.
Yeah,
everyone off.
Take all the bags off the plane.
Save yourself.
It's not going to fly.
It's the same with relationships. Just don't bother. Yeah. It's just too dangerous for you.
They should. Yeah. Well,
this is your famous. This is the famous end.
The English goodbye.
The English.
All right, thank you. Or we could do the Jujaro goodbye.
This is a. Thank you.
Man, thank you so much for coming on. It's been such a joy. I've been dying to have you on for since this morning.
10 minutes, at least because the other guy didn't turn
it
up.
Was last minute. Thank you for stepping in last minute cancellation.
Boris Johnson couldn't make it.
Yeah, it's weird. He's busy.
He's busy doing something else. Yeah,
it's so selfish.
But thank you.
Thank you, man.
Thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you.
Okay. I don't know how this will be edited in. Okay, so I was kicking Ben out because it was super boring. But now,
he goes, I've got these really good stories.
But as he's leaving, he says, I've got these amazing stories. All right, one last Bertone story. So Mrs. Bertone, there is a Mrs. Bertone.
So there was a Mrs. I'm not sure if Mrs. Bertone's still around, but Mrs. Bertone was there. We were shooting. So it was the first day of the shoot. Yeah. And basically, I managed to get each car into certain areas of the building. So it's the original design studios there and the original factory facility. So you've got right from the sort of 50s, 60s all the way through, and there's another part of the building that's 80s, and then there's a part of the building that's 90s.
Right.
And so I would find a car that was relevant to that period, and we would move it there and shoot in that relevant part of this, or not necessarily relevant to that period, but it worked design-wise.
Yeah.
And so we'd sort of halfway through the first day working out where we're going to take everything, and Mrs. Bertone came down. It was looking at Polaroids because we used to shoot on Polaroids. Yeah. And she's like, these are really great. Anyway, it's lunchtime now, so let's go and have lunch. And I'd never had a sort of full Italian lunch before, so I didn't know what this made up. But anyway, they took us up into the hills, and there's a restaurant up there, and they've got their own Bertone wine there as well.
Right.
So
as you do.
I
mean, there's a Redgrove wine.
Of course, there's a Redgrove everything.
That's right.
There's probably a Redgrove Bertone model
Alcohol-free.
now. Yeah, but this is when I drank, and so we used to
heavily.
We had very, very heavily.
You're like Oliver. What's his name? The actor. Shit, I can't remember the name.
This is good.
Yeah,
it's like the Alzheimer's appreciation interview. So we had some lunch, and then she said, "Oh no, you're not really having enough." So more wine came, more food came,
right.
More wine, more food, and then she said, "Right, we'll go back now." I am pretty much. It's half past 3, I'm kind of gone, right? And not really much action took away that afternoon. There wasn't a lot of photography going on. There was a lot of planning, slurred planning.
Did you have a nap?
No, I didn't have a nap, but we didn't really. We tried
to
minimize
the
amount of photography that's going on because we're shooting stuff. I'm looking at Polaroids. I don't know if this is sharp or not. Anyway, at the best of times,
right.
So that was not. It's not going to work very well. Anyway, so we shot that next day back to the studios. Same time, about 1 o'clock, Mrs. Bertone comes down. So lunch, boys. And we're like, no more lunch with Mrs. Bertone. No more lunch with the engineers. No more anything, just hard work. But they were just lovely people, right? That's how often do you get to be in a place like that?
Never.
Meet someone that,
Mythological.
Yeah, just incredible.
It's amazing.
Amazing people. Yeah, they really looked after us. I mean, it's the same with, maybe it's an Italian thing.
That was an amazing. You'd really talked that up as an amazing story, Ben. That's all I got. You said it's the best story of your entire life. This was the apex. Nadir's the bottom, isn't it?
Nadir.
Is that the bottom? Apex is the top.
Apex
Nadir's the bottom.
Yeah.
Nadir. I do like that word a lot.
Isn't it? Oh God! And thank you for calling.